Welcome, brave listeners, to a place where fear finds its final destination, where the line between fiction and reality fades into a shadowy blur. You've stepped into a world where your deepest anxieties come alive, not just in the recesses of your imagination, but in the very fabric of the stories you're about to hear. In this journey, the tales you'll encounter are more than just words. They're whispers in the dark, echoes of dread that linger long after the last note fades. As you listen, you'll find yourself questioning what's real and what's not, for in this place, the ordinary transforms into the extraordinary, and the familiar becomes something unsettling. So, as you settle in, remember this: you're not just a listener, you're a participant in the unfolding of fear. If you're ready to cross the threshold into a world where the unknown reigns, then let's begin. And before we dive in, if you enjoy what you hear, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a tale. Like, share, and invite others to join us in the shadows, because fear is always better when it's shared. This story has never been posted before. Written by user Tobias D. Title: The McDonald's Party That Never Stopped. This is going to sound crazy, and maybe it is, but I need to get this off my chest. Every time I pass by an old McDonald's, I feel this pit in my stomach. It's not nostalgia. It's fear because of what I have discovered. Back in the late 90s, I worked at one of those McDonald's in Chicago. Just a teenager needing some extra cash. It was a good job and we had fun at work. Not sure if you remember the birthday parties at McDonald's and that they just stopped. At that point I had no idea about the real reason they stopped doing kids' birthday parties. I used to think it was just a business decision. Now I know it was something much darker. My story happened in one of those neighborhood McDonald's that you can find all over Chicago. You know the kind. Yellow and red plastic booths, that iconic golden arch sign that you can see from a mile away, and a play place out back, with a ball pit, twisty slide, and a huge mural of Ronald McDonald and his friends smiling down at you. It was supposed to be a happy place, a place where kids could laugh and play. But after what happened that evening, it became something else entirely. As I said, this was a part-time job and I were in high school at the time, scrawny, with too much a tendency to overthink everything. I was lucky and used to work alongside Lisa, a girl from my school who was saving up for college, and then Mike, our shift manager, who was more interested in flirting with Lisa than actually doing his job. But the real characters of this story are the ones who showed up at that party: Ronald McDonald, the Hamburglar, Grimace, and Birdie. At least, that's who they were supposed to be. Yet today I always get a weird feeling about the people inside those costumes that day. They didn't seem like the regular actors we'd see, the ones who would joke around and talk with us before going out to entertain the kids. These ones didn't talk to us. They just stood there, waiting, their faces hidden behind those fixed, painted-on smiles, keeping for themselves. It was a Saturday evening and during autumn, so it was pitch black outside. We had a birthday party booked for a kid named Danny. He was turning 8. His mom had rented out the whole Playplace, and we set it up with balloons, party hats, a big cake with Ronald McDonald's face on it, and, of course, Happy Meals stacked up for all the kids. Danny was a quiet kid, with big brown eyes and a shy smile. He seemed excited, though, in that way that only kids at their birthday party can be. The party started like any other. The kids were running around, screaming, playing in the ball pit. The parents were standing by the door, chatting and keeping an eye on their kids. I was behind the counter, making sure everything was running smoothly, when the characters showed up. Ronald, Hamburglar, Grimace, and Birdie. But something was off. They moved strangely, slowly, like they were tired or just didn't care. When they walked in, I felt this weird chill run down my spine, like something wasn't right. The characters went into the play area, and the kids flocked to them, laughing and shouting. I watched from the counter, a sinking feeling in my gut. Ronald stood there, silently, while Hamburglar, Grimace, and Birdie moved among the kids, handing out balloons. I noticed Lisa looking at them, too, her face pale. She came over to me, whispering, "Do they seem Weird to you?" I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. That's when Danny came over, tugging on Ronald's sleeve. Ronald looked down at him, and even though I couldn't see his face, I felt like he was staring right at me. Danny laughed, running back into the tunnels, and Ronald just followed him. Slowly. It was dark outside, only the outside lamps lighted up the play area, and the fact that the lights in the play area flickered did not do it better. Just for a second, I felt my heart skip a beat. The kids didn't seem to notice, they were too busy playing. But I saw Ronald, Hamburglar, Grimace, and Birdie standing together, whispering to each other. It was like they were planning something. I wanted to go in, to check on Danny, but I was stuck at the counter. Then the whispers started. Faint, just below the surface of the noise, but there. I couldn't tell where they were coming from, but they seemed to fill the room, echoing off the walls. Lisa heard them too. She looked at me, her eyes wide. "What's that noise?" she asked. I shook my head. "I don't know." The feeling of unease grew stronger, a heavy weight pressing down on my chest. I could see the parents looking around, confused, their conversations dying down. The whispers were getting louder, more distinct. I thought I heard my name, but when I turned around, there was no one there. I felt like I was losing my mind, like something was crawling under my skin. Danny's mom came over to the counter, asking if I'd seen him. I told her I thought he was in the play place, and she went to look for him. A minute later, she came back, frantic. "He's not there," she said, her voice shaking. "I can't find him." I went with her, pushing through the door to the play area. It was eerily quiet. The kids had stopped playing, standing around in small groups, whispering to each other. Ronald, Hamburglar, Grimace, and Birdie were gone. The tunnels were empty. I climbed up to the top of the slide, looking down into the ball pit, but there was no sign of Danny. And then I saw it. A red clown nose, lying in the center of the pit. It wasn't one of the cheap plastic ones we had in the party supplies. It looked real, like it belonged to someone. I picked it up, feeling the weight of it in my hand, the coldness. It was sticky. When the other parents started to realize that Danny was missing, they went up to Ronald, Hamburglar, Grimace, and Birdie, asking them if they'd seen him. But the characters just stood there, staring with those lifeless eyes. They didn't respond, just turned their backs and walked away, disappearing into the staff area. Mike tried to follow them, shouting at them to wait, but by the time he got to the door, they were gone. Just gone. It was like they had vanished into thin air. We searched everywhere, but there was no trace of Danny. His mom was crying, her voice echoing through the empty play place. The other kids were getting scared, asking where Danny was, but we didn't have any answers. The whispers were louder now, filling my head, drowning out my thoughts. I felt something brush against my leg, and I looked down to see a shadow, shifting, moving along the floor. It slithered up the wall, disappearing into the tunnels. I felt like I was going to be sick. The other parents started to panic, grabbing their kids and heading for the door. But the door wouldn't open. It was like it was locked from the outside. The police came, but they couldn't find anything. They questioned all of us, but no one knew what happened to Danny. The security footage showed the party, the kids playing, but there was nothing unusual. No sign of Ronald, Hamburglar, Grimace, or Birdie. It was like they never existed. The tape ended with Danny looking directly into the camera, his eyes wide with fear, and then static. They found more clown noses, though. One at Danny's house, another at his school, and one at his best friend's house. Like they were following him, haunting him. After that, McDonald's stopped doing birthday parties. No more play areas, no more characters. They just stopped. But it didn't end there. Every year, on Danny's birthday, a clown nose appears on the doorstep of his parents' house. Just one, always the same, with a note that says, "Come play with us." Danny's parents moved away, changed their names, but the noses kept coming. No matter where they went, No matter how far they ran, they always found the nose on the porch on Danny's birthday morning. I quit my job the next day. I couldn't go back. The whispers still haunt me, echoing in my mind. Sometimes, when I'm alone at night, I see shadows moving in the corners of my eyes, hear faint laughter just out of earshot. I know it's them, the characters. I don't know what they are, but they're not human. They're something else, something older, something hungry. I started looking into it, trying to understand what happened to Danny. I found news clippings, old articles about other disappearances at McDonald's across the country. Different cities, different kids. They all had one thing in common: a birthday party that ended too soon. And at each scene, they found a red clown nose. In every case, the clown nose would reappear on the anniversary of the child's disappearance, left at the front door of their parents' homes. Some parents went insane, others left the country, but the clown noses always found them. It's like those characters, those things, are still out there, looking for the next party, their next child to take. I don't know why they do it, or what they want. But I know one thing for sure. Some things are meant to stay forgotten. Some games should never be played. And some parties should never happen.